The car I have here now, the MGB, has got a problem apparently with the carburetors are leaking, or there's gas coming out of the carburetors. I'm not quite sure why. But before I go any further, there's something already. When I got in the car and turned on the ignition, I can hear the fuel pump, and the fuel pump's a continual running one, so it's like a gear pump. It's not a diaphragm pump like the SU original, so I know it's not got an original pump on. So I'm going to have a look at the pump, see what it is, and I'll show you. I'll turn on the ignition and you can hear the pump running continually, which it isn't supposed to. It's supposed to be tick, tick, tick. That's the one we're after. So the thing is with the fuel pump, I'm worried about the pressure, because we only need like 2-3 pounds for the SUs, and these rotary pumps sometimes put out a bit more, and if we've got too much pressure it's going to flood. So no matter what I do to the carburetor, I'm going to have the problem. So I'm going to lift up the car and have a look and see what the pump is. You can see the pump. It's not the original type at all, it's one of the flow ones. So again, I'm worried about the pressure on it. So that'll be the first thing I do, is check the pressure when we're on the carburetors. I have the fuel pressure gauge marked up. It's a pretty high one because I use it for fuel injection as well. So I'm only trying to see if there's only 4 or 5 pounds, and it only moves at 5 pounds. So I'm going to turn it on and we can see. See what pressure I'm getting. I'm getting very little. You can just barely see it. If I just let the pressure off, you can just see it move. So I've only got about maybe 3-4 pounds in there, which is what I want. So we're okay with the pressure. Right, I've set the car up a bit here. I've lifted up the hood and got that out of the way. I put my fender blanket on and I took the air filters off. So now we're able to see, if I turn on the ignition, we're able to see the carburetor leaking, and it's just dripping out a bit. I'll just turn the light on. Now you can see it dripping out. And this is what my problem is. So now, let me turn the ignition on. So what I have to do is replace the needle and seat. So I'm going to take the carburetors off and replace the needle and seat and then put them back on. Should be okay. So that's basically what the problem is with the carburetor. So I have everything disconnected on the carburetors. I took off the choke cables and the throttle cable. I undid all the springs off the bottom on the linkage, where there's one on each choke and then there's one on the throttle return. I undid my bolts that are on the back of the flanges for the carburetors. So I lift the whole thing off. Now the trick is, if you want to keep the carbs balanced, because the car was running okay apart from the fact it was flooding or dripping a little bit, so you don't undo any of these connections. You leave the bars complete, so that now when you lift off the carburetor, you lift them off and then you just take those two and separate them and they fall off and you're left with the two carburetors. So you don't disturb anything. And you leave these two undisturbed with the nuts on, with the little nuts and connections on it. Then you don't alter the ratio between the carburetors or the setup. You can put the carburetors right straight back on. So I'm going to take this over to the bench now. Now, where the float is at the bottom of the carburetor, and this is the cover for the float chamber where we want to get into. So we'll just slacken this a bit. I've emptied all the gas out of the carburetors already, so I don't get it all over my bench. As we take this off, we can see where the float assembly is and where the main jet is, where it picks up the gas. As the gas comes into the carburetor through the intake, through the gas line, comes through the little the little needle and seat that's in there, and the float goes up and down to control the needle and seat. So what I'm going to do now is undo the spindle that the float pivots on. Take that out, and we get hold of the float and lift the float up. Now you can check and see if the float's okay. If it's full of gasoline, obviously it's not very good. So I can take out the needle, that's the bit that goes inside there, and we can see off the neoprene it's pretty worn. It's got marks in it already. So we'll put that aside, and then we'll take out the actual seat for the needle. It's brass, this tends not to wear. They used to wear when they were all metal, but now they put the neoprene in, they don't. It's the neoprene that wears, so you can take a look down the bottom of it. So we have a new one here that we're going to put in. Now this comes as an assembly. The neoprene on this one is black compared to the other one that's red. Now one of the things I do, which makes life a bit easier, I'll put this one together and I compare the height. See if they're the same one. That also confirms it's the right one that I'm getting for the car. You can see it's the shoulder on the bottom, and where it's on the top is the same. Just don't mix them up, which is the new one, which is the old one. Now we put that back in. There should be a little fibre washer under the seat of this. That affects the height of the float. Now we get the float and we put the float back in. You can see this lever, this little brass tag, goes up and down on the needle and seat as it opens and closes. So if you bend this, it alters the float height. The float height will affect how much gas is going into the float chamber, which can invariably alter the height of the float, the height of the gasoline in the main jet. But I'm not going to go there and cover all that. I'm going to do a video on how this stuff works. All I'm intending to show you is how to change the needle and float when the thing's flooding. Now we have to get our now the way that we make sure that this is at the right height. So with the float, it's pretty vague in the book where it's supposed to be, so what I usually do is put a straight edge across here on the second part of the float, and I make sure that goes down. But to make things even more complicated or worse, is a spring loaded on the end of the needle and seat, which actually I don't like. I wish they were just solid, but they're not. They're spring controlled. So I tend to leave a little bit of the spring where it's just touching. I put it a little bit high. And you can see, you put that across and that's where it should be, and that should be closed. So you should be under tension on the spring. So that's where your float needs to be. So now I'm going to put this back on. Back on the right way would be good. Alright. Again, we just put my screws in. rubber seal that goes on the bottom, 9 times out of 10 is reusable. Just put it out, don't pull it out unless I have to change it. It looks like these carburetors have been rebuilt pretty recently, to be honest. And whoever cleaned them up sandblasted them. So one of the things I'm not liking is I'm feeling grit on everything that I touch, which I'm not happy about. So I'm hoping this isn't causing the problem with the flooding. I don't think it is, but anyway, we'll see. So I'll put this together, now we'll do the other one, and once I've got both of them done, then we'll come back and I'll put them on the car. Okay, so to put the carburetors back on, we take our linkage, which we haven't moved, and we put them back in. There's one for the choke and one for the throttle. Just make sure you're getting the right way. Oh shit. Make sure you get them the right way around and you don't drop them. You have to remember which way these were in. And you take your other carburetor and you slot the two into place, and then we just put them on there. And before we do anything else, we take a nut and put one of our nuts on the top to hold it in place. So then we can just assemble everything back up and connect all our cables and all our throttle stuff, and we'll be good to go. I'll do that, I'll connect everything up, then we'll come back. Alright, so I'm just going to put the air filters on, then we're done, we're finished. I've hooked everything up, the car runs fine, everything's good. There's a couple of things I want to mention. First of all, obviously I'm just going to reiterate what I've said already, which is like, make sure if you change the fuel pump that you don't get one that's got too much pressure. You can only do with about 3, 4, maybe 5 pounds on the pump. Any more than that you'll have a problem. Also, when I put the carburetors on the bench, I tipped them upside down so all the oil came out of the dashboards. When you put them back on, make sure that you just put the oil back in the dashboard, because otherwise you'll have misfiring when you first push on the throttle. Personally, the oil that I put in there, I don't use transmission oil or any of that stuff. I put 2050 oil in, same as the engine, and it's easy. I've done that for years. It works way better, it's thicker, the viscosity stays the same. With the transmission oil, it's really thin, so it affects the damping on it. I don't like it. So I put the 2050 in it. Also, make sure that all the filters are good. Obviously, make sure the fuel filter's been changed, which it has on this before it came to me. And the same with the air filters. Somebody put air filters in it. But when they put the air filter back, they took the cover, and what they did on these two, they put this, when they took the filter on, they put it back on, and the 2 holes at the top, they blocked the ones on the carburetor. There's 2 holes on the top that are breathers, and they had this upside down, so it was blocked, so it wasn't getting air in the breather on the air filter. So be careful of that as well. But apart from that, I'm going to stick these back on and throw the car out, and that's it. We're done. Okay. Thanks for watching, and if you don't mind subscribing or click onto some other video or whatever you like to do, that's it. We're done. Thank you very much.